was demonstrated very clearly during the attack on Gaza by the Israelis at the end of, 2008 into 2009, when there were thousands of Palestinian refugees seeking protection from the strafing and the bombing by the Israelis using American aircraft, of course, and free gasoline, I believe, provided by the Americans. The international law requires that in a situation like this, you open your borders. So Egypt was under international obligation to open its borders, receive the refugees from Gaza and give them safe haven and protect them from the Israelis. They did not do that. Quite an extraordinary violation of law and a huge lapse in a relationship which you'd think would be so fundamental, given the ethnic similarities and religious similarities in some cases as well. So Egypt has continued this policy of neglecting the rights of the Palestinians. They've played into the hands of the Israelis. And I find it absolutely shocking and mind-boggling that this continues. And I can only assume that it's the current regime in Egypt that allows this to happen. Now, $3 billion a year is not just pocket money. It does buy a lot of support and friendship. But I hope we will see a change, and there is an election, I believe, next year, and there are some good candidates, and maybe we'll have a new government in Egypt. Maybe we'll see, democracy or not, I don't really care. But it's a government that protects the interests of the Egyptian people, and that includes protecting the interests of the people of Palestine. Thank you.
Related to that, there's a question here from Jen Chong Ariella. Basically, is there a possibility that all nations with Israeli embassies remove them out of the country, so that they would so that Israel would respect international law?
Well, I think there was a time when we felt that Turkey was going to close down the embassy and kick out the ambassador. I'm not sure that actually happened. It didn't happen in my own country, I'm sorry to say. The fact is, games are being played at all different sorts of levels, whether it's the Security Council or whether it's the diplomatic level. And on the one hand, I could argue that it's better to keep talking. If we don't talk to each other, we make mistakes. So the Americans, for example, have no representation in Iran. And look at the total disaster of that relationship, because they're not meeting, they're not talking, they don't know what each one is thinking. The same was true of Iraq under Saddam Hussein and during the sanctions period when I was there myself. So a dialogue is critically important. However, removing an ambassador, even if it's temporary, is a sign of failure of communications. It's a sign of rejection of something that's happened. It's an important signal. But in terms of making a difference or making change or innovation of some sort, it makes no difference whatsoever. It's purely a protocol thing. So it's a marginal endeavor, but it's a signal, the sort of signal that Israel needs, that the world rejects totally Israeli policies generally, and particularly in terms of the Palestinian people.
As we well know, Israel has embarked on a bogus investigation committee that supposedly will investigate what actually happened on the flotilla. And of course, we're told that there will be 2 or 3 personalities. I understand some people from New Zealand or somewhere. And also, one of the terms in the investigation is that leaders of Israel will not be questioned about their part in the decision-making to attack the flotilla. At the same time, Malaysia also put out a proposal to the UN to have the incident on the flotilla discussed at the UN, perhaps if possible even at the Security Council. Unfortunately, last week we received word that the UN had basically rejected this proposal. Have you any comments about that?
Well, my view, and I expressed it last night to our Turkish friend beside me, is that Turkey should have undertaken, or should still undertake, its own investigation. And they can make it an international investigation, but under the Turkish umbrella. And they can bring in Nelson Mandela or Jimmy Carter, whoever else they want to have there, to look at the thing deeply and come up with some real solutions. Because anything coming out of Israel clearly would have no credibility whatsoever. And the fact that the Commission can't even interview the Israeli leadership and the military just makes it a laughingstock. So I would again encourage Turkey to rethink its position and set up its own investigation, make it international, and give us the true story. And this booklet that you held up, Marcus, is a very clear indication of the sort of violence that took place against innocent and unarmed activists by the Israeli troops who came on board the ship.
Among the other questions I've been receiving here, one that I'll pose to Jenny, if you don't mind. Going by the experience from the flotilla, how do you think we can learn from that experience and improve on it so that if we were to embark on the next one, we'll make it better, more effective, and make sure, perhaps to some extent, the objective to be met? So is there anything that you now know in hindsight that you would not have done or you would have improved on if we were to embark on a new flotilla?
I think, you know, each time you do one of these missions, the Free Gaza, this is actually the 9th mission of the Free Gaza. Yeah. It was the one, unfortunately, it was the one that got into the media the most because of the deaths and the massacre on board the Marmara. It shouldn't have come to that. It shouldn't have taken that for us to get into the international media. To do something different, I don't know. I mean, each mission we've tried something different. We've asked for inspections of our cargo. We've had inspections of our cargo. I know on the other boats, but for sure on the Rachel Corrie, we had our cargo inspected 3 times by 3 different people before it left Ireland. The security tags are still on board. This still wasn't enough for them. I don't know what we're going to do different. We're going to have to sit down, talk, think, work something else out. Honestly, I don't know what we're going to do different. Everything we do is legal and above board. We're doing it for the right reasons. Perhaps it's just going to come down to getting more inspections before we travel all the way to, you know, to Palestine, to Gaza. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
We see that a number of countries, particularly in the region, are sending their own ships. I was just watching the news this morning. I think there's a ship from Libya that is on its way to Gaza. Do you think that better coordination, you know, should be put in place, perhaps with the involvement of the PGPO and also with those countries with the same intent, so that we can have greater impact, you know, rather than the ships going one by one, perhaps with limited media coverage?
Yes, I mean, I think this was the whole point of this flotilla also. Before this, we were sending 1, 2 small boats. The whole point of this flotilla, as I said, which came from Perdana originally, was to make it bigger and stronger, for more protection, to carry more aid. And I think that's the way it has to go. I think if we're sending more ships, it has to be with coalitions, it has to be in flotillas. Everybody, of course, is responsible for their own and must vet their own people and their security. But I think to do it as a group, internationally to do it as a group, for all the organisations and the campaigns to come together, because we are all on the one side anyway, you know, and make it stronger, make it so strong that it can't be stopped, that we can get and continue to do what we need to do. So yes, do it as a coalition, of course.
Good, thank you. I have a question for Ashwat. Seeing that you're from the media and going by the experience we've had with the flotilla, many comments come in about how what kind of media coverage there was about the event. And that I understand from your own report, and our friends from TV3 said the same thing, is that their of course, film were confiscated, all types of media, SD cards and everything were taken away. There was obvious, only those that were kept in underwear and things like that actually got through. So what could we have done better in order to make sure that the coverage gets better coverage, better spread across the world? If we were to embark on another flotilla, what is it that we could do? Would it be a live satellite coverage?
Yeah.
Something like that? Well, what is your suggestion?
Okay, first of all, like all this on Marmara, I